today's show, Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report joins the program. We play a little game, over-unders. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond, and you are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts. In today's show, Sean Highkin is going to finish out our long chat of the week. If you missed the first two parts of this program, or parts of this chat with Sean, they published earlier this week. They're waiting for you in your feed. We talked about the Blazers rotation, pretty much touched on all of the big news of the summer. Be sure to check those out. In today's show, we're playing games, though. An over-under game I devised for Sean. I demised it, too. I guess I set it up. I devised for Sean where I set the over-under line, and he picks which side Blazers players will fall on. It's a bunch of fun. Check it out. Sean, do you want to play a game?
Sure.
All right, so we're going to play over-unders. I'm going to give you an over-under. You pick the line. I've got, how many do I have here? I've got 10. Okay. That's less. 10. Okay, let's start at the top with Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, over-under 28.5 points this season.
I'm going to go right under. I'm going to go he'll be at 28.
Yeah, so he averaged, last time he was fully healthy, averaged 28.8 points. So I'm basically saying, will he get there again? I agree with you. Better offensive talent around him. He's older.
He won't need to do as much.
Yeah, and need to do as much. He's going to average 27.8 points or something like that.
That's about where I'm at.
Yeah, over under 7.5 assists for Dame.
Over just because there's a lot more talent around.
I'm going to go under because everybody else dribbles.
Sure.
Jerami Grant's going to take 2 dribbles. He's going to steal some assists, but I think he's going to average 7+. So 7.5 is. Jusuf Nurkic, over under 3.4 assists per game.
Under just because I think the minutes aren't going to get high enough to be either because of injuries or whatever else. I think it's just a usage thing.
Yeah. Over under 1.03 point attempts per game for Nurk.
Under, but not by that much. I think it's going to creep up towards 1. I think a year from now, I think actually as he ages, we're talking of, this contract, maybe 2 years from now, he's going to, physically, if he doesn't want to bang as much, we might, a couple of years from now be talking about him taking that many threes, but I don't think it's going to quite get there this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I also if Nurk never shot an above the break 3-pointer again, that is fine with me. I do not need to see my man bomb away from 3. There's a reason you're open, my dude. There's a reason you're open. But, there's been guys like Jonas Valanciunas who kind of all of a sudden became a 3-point launcher and was it became a real weapon for him. Obviously, Brook Lopez is the one that everyone points to, a guy who kind of reinvented himself. It's not unheard of. But for me, Nurk is good at other stuff, and him shooting threes is not a thing he's good at. And I just want guys, particularly complimentary guys, to do what they do best.
But does Nurk see himself as a complimentary?
No, Nurk's a star. Or Nurk is, I think earnestly, Nurk sees himself as the second best player on the team.
Oh, I think he does too.
Yeah. And to some extent, to do what Nurk has done, to make the NBA, to sign $150 million worth of contracts, all of that stuff, you have to believe you're that good. There's a level of confidence that is just required to do the job. But you were talking about sort of this deep self-awareness from a just turned 20-year-old. Nurk's 27. He does not possess that same deep level of self-awareness. He possesses a deep level of self-confidence, and it's worked out for him. Different strokes, different folks, etc. Okay, I got a couple other over-unders for you. Shaedon Sharpe, over-under 34.5 games this season. Under, okay.
Unless the season goes totally sideways and it's another tanking year and they're rebuilding, I don't see it.
So I had this first when I wrote it down as 40.5, and I was like, well, under. Everyone's going under on 40.5. So I moved it down to 34.5. What's a line that you would be like, is 25.5? Would you take the over?
Somewhere between 25 and 30 might be where I would put it.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe next time I do this, I'm going to write it down on my sheet. I'll say 28.5 is where we're going to is where we're getting action.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we talked about this in an earlier episode, but like, it's hard for Shaedon Sharpe to find real minutes unless the Blazers say we have to get him real minutes. So yeah, I don't know. I think he could conceivably play more than half the games, but it seems really unlikely. I'm with you on that. All right, next one for you. Over under 17.5 points for Jerami Grant.
Just over. I think he's going to get to 18.
18. What does Jerami Grant do on offense? Like, is he going to be a pick and roll guy with Dame, or is he going to be a spacer? Like, how do you see him fitting? Just like functionally in the offense.
I think him being a pick and roll guy with Dame is probably where he'd be the most effective. But
yeah,
it's too early.
Yeah, I wonder if he shares the court with Nurk so much, if he gets relegated to like the second side or in the corner, or they have to run stuff for Jerami to get him going. Because if Nurk's on the court, it's weird to run pick and rolls where he's not involved. He's the great screener. He's a great playmaker. That's Grant's like actual basketball role is really fascinating to me. Like, how do they maximize what he does? Because the way the Pistons did it is they let him shoot a lot of pull up 19-footers.
And I don't think that's going to be what he's doing.
Yeah, you hope not. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the idea is that they're going to get him a lot better looks than maybe he had in Detroit.
Do you think he's like a higher volume 3-point shooter than he's been in the past?
What is his, how many attempts did he have?
He was at like 4 and some change, but that was with some off the dribble stuff.
I think he's going to stay around there probably.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. I'm kind of fascinated by him because I'm with you. Like, I like him I think he's like really highly functional in that role. Last year, he shot 5.5 attempts per game, but on those OKC and Denver teams, he was under 4. So yeah, I think 4 is about right?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, I wonder if he just converts some of his, what I'm asking is converts some of his 2s into 3s. And then it's like, so now he's taken 2 less 2s a game, but 2 more 3s, and he's taken 6.5 or whatever it might be. Nassir Little over under 18.5 minutes.
Over. I think he gets to 20.
What roles do you think he plays? Like, is he the straight up just small forward, or where else could Nas like fit in? Where does he sneak in for more minutes?
I think he'll mostly play the 3, but they are so thin there at that position that I think he'll end up getting a lot of minutes that way. I mean, obviously he can play the 4 in some smaller lineups, but yeah, I think
not ideal.
It's mostly going to be the 3.
Yeah, I think you might have to play the 4 because if you want to get Josh Hart on the court with the 2 starting guards, that might be some space there. If you want to play GP and the 2 guards, or GP and Josh Hart and Ant, a second unit could include him at that power forward. Like, I think he plays some minutes at the 4. I think ideally you would try to find Nas some minutes at the 2, right? Like, to go big. It's just they don't really have a path.
Where do you slot that in? Because you have Gary Payton and you have Hart and
right. It's hard to figure. It's one of the hardest things about this team is that it's hard to get all of their good defenders on the court at the same time. I don't know what they do about that. Before I ask you over under, are you concerned about the Damian backcourt defensively? Just on that same note. I
mean, yeah, like you have to be, but the guys around him actually make sense though, is the difference between that and previous years of that same kind of team construct.
Yeah, agreed. And I think if you think that Nas and Jerami Grant can cover for that, it's better. When they had longer wings, they were pretty effective with 2 small guards. Yeah. And that same year they did win the Summer League championship. So you know how this goes. You know who the 2018 Summer League MVP was?
Who?
Josh Hart. So he's got good vibes.
That's right. Yeah. Because he was still on the Lakers at the time.
Yeah. And he kind of like asked to play Summer League, even though he was like, probably shouldn't have been there. And then he was like the best player in Vegas.
Did you saw the rings that they got this year, right?
Yeah.
Are
the
Blazers going to get like retroactive, like is Josh Hart going to retroactively get a summer league ring?
No.
Did you see so the Bulls won the summer league championship in 2016. Mm-hmm. So did you see when Malika first posted the picture on her Instagram of like the summer league ring to debut it? And Bobby Portis commented on it and was like, I still need my 2016 championship ring.
For a while, they hung like a Sacramento Kings Summer League championship banner. That was like kind of a joke in the gym.
The Blazers and the Kings are like the Lakers and Celtics of Summer League because they're the only two franchises that have won more than one Summer League championship. Elite team in Vegas. You send this group to Vegas, they're going to win. And they're going to talk smack. Trent Watford loved being a Summer League champion. That was probably the best part of Summer League was how much Trent Watford enjoyed winning Summer League. Are those guys going to be wearing, because back, like I was still covering the Bulls when they won their Summer League championship. And then like the next season, whenever Fred Hoiberg wanted to like make a point of showing that he actually did have authority as a coach, he would wear his Victory in Vegas t-shirt as like his warm up after practice. I wonder, like, is Chauncey going to come over to talk to us at the practice facility wearing like his Summer League champions t-shirt?
Yeah, Steve Hetzel is going to be out there, and he's going to be like, put some respect on my name.
Put some respect on Steve Hetzel's name. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Coach Hetz, baby. Today's show brought to you by BetOnline. Fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action, whatever that might be. You're going to find it. Whether that's the end of the Major League Baseball season, whether that is soccer here in North America with the MLS and NWSL, whether that's soccer abroad as the European leagues start kicking up again, or if it's golf, or if it's tennis, or if it's the combat sports, you're going to find action. Plus, you're going to find news and notes to make you a smarter, better. So go to betonline.net. Take advantage today. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. All right. Here's the rest of my conversation with Sean as we keep on playing our over-under games. Okay, I got some more over-unders for you. Thanks for indulging me in that sidetrack. Over-under 24.5 minutes a game for Gary Payton II.
I'm going to go slightly under just because I think there's so many guys that you have to try to get minutes to at those spots. It's kind of crowded.
Yeah, it's like he plays big. Right? Like that's what they're saying. He plays big. And that's true. He does play big. And
but also he's not.
Right. He's not big. And he functionally, I think he can play center on offense because he's a good screener and a good cutter. But the other end of the floor, he kind of, to get the most out of him, he needs to guard guards. Like he can guard wings a little bit. Right. But like to get the most out of him, you're putting him on Kyrie Irving or whatever. Like you're putting him on elite point guards, Jamal Murray, whoever it might be in the West. I was going to say Chris Paul, but he just put Dame on him and figured it out. He'll have to guard Devin Booker in those games. So yeah, it's like, does Gary Payton play half the game is an interesting question to me because he helps and he checks some boxes that they need help with, but when you make that decision, what happens with Ant's minutes? What happens with Josh Hart's minutes? Like it goes down the line. How small can they go? Can they play four guards again out of spite to their GM like they did briefly in Cleveland last year?
I think the four guards that they could play make a lot more sense together than the four guards that they were playing last time.
100%. 100%.
That's the thing. You can play Dame, Ant, Hart, and GP2, and it makes a lot more sense than Dame, CJ, Ant, Norm.
I totally agree because Hart is a willing passer and a good rim guy.
Although it is a false narrative because Dame is not small for a point guard.
He's not small for a point guard. Fentress, why did you ask that question? It's true. Yeah, he's slightly undersized for a point guard. That's all. He's pretty strong.
It's a false narrative that Dame gets frustrated with you talking about.
Okay. We could probably do a lot of these. We could play a lot of these hits. Over under 36% three-point shooting for Josh Hart. For context, he is a career 34.7 three-point shooter, and last year with the Blazers, he shot 37%.
I'll go under. I don't think there's going to be like a huge spike.
Yeah, that's fair. He was so good in his 13 games with the Blazers last year. He was nuts.
He got that Barack Obama game, that 44, and then they were just like, nope, you're done. We got a tank.
Literally, he scored 44. He could have had 50 like in that game. He just he didn't get enough. He didn't get, like, if they had force fed him down the stretch, he could have had 50. And like you could just see, it's like, Well, that's the end of Josh Hart's time. It's like,
my buddy Sopan Deb, who writes for the New York Times, had the best tweet after the Josh Hart quote about getting to Barack Obama.
Yeah.
He said that Josh Hart's career average is the John Tyler.
Which is like 14?
10.
There you go. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Shows you, I'm a U.S. history major in college, shows you how much I learned. Okay, two more. You ready for these?
Yeah.
Over, under. Actually, I have three more. I lied. Over, under 0.5 starts for Jabari Walker. Over.
Someone will get injured. They'll plug him in.
Yeah, and it's sometimes easier to start guys than bring them off the bench.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, if Sean and I in a previous episode talked a bunch about Jabari and how he can fit, go listen to that. It's in your feeds right before this one. Over, under 2.5 trades during this season.
Under.
Over, under 1.5 trades this season.
Over.
Yeah, that's how I think too.
I think there'll be 2.
Me too, because they're going to trade someone, and that someone's probably going to be the aforementioned Josh Hart, but they're going to make a trade.
Yeah, and then they'll make one trade where it's like you actually trade one of your rotation guys for another rotation guy, and then they'll do one like the Utah one where like they just move some salary and some picks around or whatever.
Yeah, reroute.
That's like an ancillary thing.
Yeah. Where they reroute someone because they're like, hey, we're not going to play Nickeil Alexander-Walker anyways, and we can get a second-round pick for free out of it. Let's just do that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think 2 is the number. There's no chance that they finish the season with the team that opens training camp, right? Like,
no, I don't think so.
I guess there's like a non-zero chance, but it's really low.
I would be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, they've openly, like, even without like doing behind-the-scenes stuff and talking about what you've heard, like, what we've heard publicly is Joe Cronin say we still have to get better.
We're saying they're not good enough. I mean, I think he's acknowledged that like there's only so much they still can do. I think really the biggest thing they have left to use is the Robert Covington trade exception, which is about like $6 million.
Yeah,
which they could use if they needed to. I don't see an obvious target for it, but that's something they could use. But for the most part, like, they can't really, they're so close to the hard cap right now that they can't really do anything without giving up, whether it be a Josh Hart or a Nassir Little or one of those guys. And I think they want to see how all of those guys fit together before, we're talking about all of these guys fighting for these minutes. At some point, there's going to be a crunch and somebody's going to be the odd man out. And so I think you're going to see one of those guys get moved.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe closer to the deadline.
Yeah. And if they sign Nassir Little to an extension, then
it won't be him.
It's Josh Hart. So it's like, yeah, I mean, Hart is obviously the most likely to be traded because he's good. I mean, that's even if he did average the John Tyler, like, he's good. He could play. Like,
he's a useful player.
He could help any good team in the league. Any good team in the league. Which
you plug him onto any team and he'll find a way to get minutes.
100%. Okay, my last over under for you. Over under 7th in the West. Over.
Yeah.
What? So you think that's 8th or the other way?
No. Wait. So what are we talking about?
Let me ask that differently. Better seed or worse seed than 7th in the West? Better. Where do you think where do you have them slotted out?
Around 6.
Around 6. So right at that range. Right. Yeah. Okay.
But I think I think Memphis is going to take a step back because they lost Slovo and Melton, and they're not going to have Jackson for most of the year. I think Dallas definitely got worse.
Yeah, they're worse for sure.
Brunson.
For sure, they're worse.
Like, okay, so to me, the 4 teams that are like clearly like no question better talent-wise are Golden State, Phoenix, Denver, Clippers, assuming full health.
100%. That's my 4 teams that are definitely better.
And then I think the next 3 teams, I kind of have Portland, New Orleans, and Minnesota kind of in that same tier together as like those are the next 3 in some order. And I think by virtue of having Dame, having the best player on any one of those teams, I think that would give Portland the edge there. But I think they'll avoid the play-in, assuming reasonable amount of health.
Yeah.
Kind of where
I mean, all of these predictions, you got to assume.
I'll say this. I'm not a gambler. If you want to talk about over-unders, that 40.5 line that like Vegas put out, that's like the easiest lock in the world.
Yeah, that was actually the sponsor of this podcast, betonline.net. They put it out.
Some of the Vegas ones also had that same
Did they?
number. Like I think like MGM or something. Or
okay, yeah. So
only ever do any of your sports betting on the company that is sponsoring Locked On Blazers.
That's. I'm
just telling you, like that's like it's not just that one book. It's the conventional wisdom was their over under was like at 40.5, and I think that's like the easiest over in the world.
Yeah, me too. Like I don't think this team's gonna be super good. Like I don't see them as a 50-win team. That's a really good season is 50 wins. But if they won 47, I don't think it would shock me. Yeah.
Dame by yourself, like he's still such a, even, assuming that what we were talking about earlier, Mike, is right, and he gets back to some semblance of what he was before he had this ab surgery, he's such a floor raiser. A healthy Damian Lillard is like 43 wins.
Yeah, I've been saying 39, like just by virtue of having Dame on the roster, 39 wins. You're going to win basically half your games if you have Dame and any other NBA players on the team.
Yeah.
The only time it really hasn't worked out is when they didn't have when their only other power forward in the roster was Anthony Tolliver, and then Dame dragged them to the playoffs because he's so darn good in the bubble.
Well, they signed Melo because of that whole thing.
100%. They had to sign Melo. Exactly. A Dame choice, by the way. And then last year when the vibes were so bad all the way around and his health was so bad that they had to pull the plug. Pretty much every other year, they have been 500 or better and sometimes much better. Dame is, like you said, an absolute floor raiser. So I think I have them at like 7, 8, 9 range, but if 6 doesn't surprise me at all. I'm probably higher on Dallas and lower on New Orleans than you are. But, that might be a game or two separating those two teams. Yeah. So they're going to be right in the range.
I'm also terrible at predictions.
Yeah. Oh, well, good. I'm glad I got you on wax at the end of a long record with me. So you could get it at your sharpest. Sean, if people are looking for you, where can they find you?
So go to the Rose Garden Report. So it's rosegardenreport.beehive, BEEHIIV.com. There are, you can sign up for a free subscription, which, you get some of the stuff that I'm writing. I would encourage you to sign up for a paid subscription because I put some stuff behind the paywall that I think is worth your time if you're a Blazer fan and you want kind of in-depth coverage from someone who, is there every day and is going to practices and stuff. I feel like right now with, if you look at like the Blazers coverage landscape, was kind of a hole for this type of thing that I am kind of trying to fill.
Absolutely.
And there's also a podcast, which is also called Rose Garden Report. That's free. You can get that just Apple, Spotify, wherever else you get your podcasts.
Yeah, check them out. I will link that in the episode description for this episode. If you are listening now, Sean was on all week. I am out of town as you were listening to this. And this is, if you've been listening, Sean's been on all week. So if you missed any of them, if you're just hopping on now, Sean and I talked a couple other episodes that are waiting in your feed, or if you're a YouTube watcher, they're waiting, just right in the playlist for you. So go check those out. Sean, thanks again for coming on. I appreciate you.
Always good to talk to you, Mike. I'll see you at, I'm assuming I'll see you at Media Day, training camp.
No promises.
Right. I'll see you at games.
I'll be there. Dear listeners, tell your friends about this podcast. Tell your friends about the Rose Garden Report, and then come back for more shows next week. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.